Good morning and welcome to the June 13th, 2022 meeting. And this morning, Erin, you're going to do our prayer?
Yes.
Thank you.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day and ask that you guide our leaders in Clermont County so they can make the best decisions for the public. Lord, watch over law enforcement and other first responders as they put their lives on the line daily for the sake of others. We ask you to place your comforting hands on the sick and homebound. May they seek refuge in your loving arms. Now that school is out, we ask you to watch over our children so that they have a safe summer break, and that you provide for those children who may not know where their next meal will come from. Lord, teach us to love like you, forgiving and unconditional, so this world may be a better place to live for all. Lord, we ask you to hear our prayers in your most precious name. Amen.
Now to officially start our meeting, Commissioner Corcoran, lead us in the pledge.
Absolutely. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Welcome. And this morning, we would like to excuse Commissioner Painter for not being with us. And first thing on the agenda is the approval of the regular session minutes of June 8th, 2022. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second. Holly, please roll call.
Commissioner Corcoran.
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes, thank you. And this morning we have a presentation for the Little Fork Family Advocacy Center. Scott?
Thank you both, and I thank Mr. Painter in his absence for giving us the time to present here. I'm not sure who was here about 5 years ago, but I did do a pretty lengthy presentation in 2017 about Little Fork. Just for anybody watching, my experience has been I was a Clermont County prosecutor for just under 20 years. I spent the bulk of my time as the sexual assault prosecutor, as well as the kind of being in charge of child abuse cases. And my experience with that, that's what led to Little Fork. Is after putting away enough bad people over the years, I realized that I just felt there was a big gap in addressing what was happening to the victims, and really more importantly, what was happening to their families. A lot of times these real significant traumas would take place, and you just look at the family and go, well, now what happens? And after being in the prosecutor's office long enough, I saw what happened. I saw that kid who was traumatized in 2005 was then overdosing in 2017 or committing other types of crimes in 2019. And I think it led me to say we've got a lot of very good agencies, but they don't generally work together very well. And I hoped to create a place where we would have a one-stop shop for family violence. What Little Fork is basically the travel agent for those agencies. So our direct partners right now are Cincinnati Children's Hospital. So as it stands, the prosecutor's office, both in our county, and I would tell you Little Fork will be representing Brown, Adams, Clermont, and Highland as well in this capacity. So children who disclose sexual trauma go to the Mayerson Center in Clifton. That is a 70-mile round trip just from Batavia. As a lot of folks who are out here know, that's not necessarily where you want to go to disclose that mom's boyfriend had been abusing you for several years. It's a pretty daunting campus in and of itself, let alone the travel distance for our family. So first and foremost, I wanted to bring what the Mayerson Center did well and bring it out closer to our families, which is a way that can not only benefit the taxpayers of this county, but also law enforcement and Children's Protective Services. They are supposed to send workers, both detectives and Children's Protective Service workers, down to Clifton to observe these interviews. You can think about the amount of time and effort that takes. And then you look at the burden that it is really on the families to do the same. Little Fork, after partnering with Children's Hospital, is also partnered with Mercy. Mercy has given us about 2,000 square feet inside the hospital, which is right next to the emergency room. We have retrofitted an old cancer wing of the hospital really for office space for forensic interviews, which is what the Mayerson Center does. Observation for law enforcement, and Child Focus, another partner of ours, will be doing therapy inside the hospital in one of those spaces. We will also house the YWCA. We have a number of other non-residential partners, but you can imagine in a 2,000 square foot space, we're pretty restricted in how many people can be in there, but I wanted as many as we can. What Little Fork will do is be basically the travel agent for the families. Whether they come through from domestic violence at the Y, whether they come through Child Focus, whether they come through the Mayerson Center, are referred by law enforcement or other community partners such as schools, it will be Little Fork's job to own the problem of that family violence. We want to do that for 10 years. I think that's where the gap has been so significant, is when that initial trauma takes place, whether or not it goes through the criminal justice system. By the time that system is done, we're just hoping that the families get better, and we hope that things turn out okay. And I think what we've learned is it doesn't. So our job will be repeatedly to intervene with these families and get them the help that they need. Maybe they need therapy initially, both the parent or parents or children or victim, but maybe 5 years down the road, mom needs a job. And so we will have other partner agencies that we will connect those families with throughout. As their needs change, we'll be able to be the travel agent to keep that change taking place. From a community involvement, and that's what brings me here today too, we have reached out to some significant and prominent members in Clermont County. I'm very pleased to say we've raised hundreds of thousands of dollars from the private sector, to the tune that we were able to construct Little Fork inside the hospital without obviously any money from grants. All private donors have stepped up and done that. We are slated to be open, I think mid to late August. So, I mean, I like to look at where we were, because this is our long-term building that we created, I think in 2016. Obviously the small space that we're in now is temporary. We've already outgrown it and we haven't started operating. I can tell the board as well that we have acquired land that Mercy Hospital will give to us. On that land, we intend on building the more permanent Little Fork facility. And I'll tell you, this is probably a 3 to 5 year projection for us. The YWCA is also planning on building their domestic violence shelter. So it will be more of a one-stop shop for all families in the community. And they will have their residential shelter there as well. So I think at this point, and that's what brought me to the county, is to make a request for the county to step up. Like I said, we've had the private dollars that have stepped up significantly. There are great benefits both for law enforcement, CPS, but most importantly for the families in this community. We want to be that place that if something is happening in your family, trauma related, or even just assistance, you'll only have to have one number to call. You won't be given a card that has 87 numbers on it and asked to handle that, or given 52 pamphlets. One number, and that can be us. Our humble request is for the first year. So this would be kind of fiscal year and I don't know when the county's year starts, but $100,000 for that first year. And then for years 2 through 5, we would ask for $75,000 of continued support just for that initial 5 years. It will help us get over that hump to be up and operational, with the goal again to be helping families really by the fall in this community. And we will take whatever happens here, we will take this to Brown and Adams just for buy-in from the other counties as well. Again, I mean, my goal from a prosecutor's office standpoint, or from a prosecutor standpoint, was to help these rural communities. I know that travel is difficult for them, and so we want to be just geographically situated to support these families out here in the Eastern Corridor. And I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone has.
Scott, you say that Mercy has donated the property next to the hospital for future building?
Yes, that's slated for our use and the YWCA's use. So if you're familiar, there's a bank that's going up, there's a hospital, there's a walking path, there's about an 8-9 acre parcel that's right there. Yes.
So do you foresee already what the cost of building that facility would be?
So this building that you're looking at, and I'll tell you, I don't have the pictures here. Well, let me make sure that so if I click on this picture here, okay, so that's the outside of where we're actually situated right now. I can, This is the interior portion. This is our 2,000 square foot space as it sits right now. The building that you're looking at here I've learned a lot about construction too, let me tell you. I mean, I knew a lot about child sex cases. I didn't know anything about construction. This building looked very pretty, had lots of glass, and at the time cost $7 million, and that was in 2016. So I can only guess that particular building would be like 10 million plus now with supplies. We will modify this building to be cheaper and more functional. I mean, it's a very pretty building, but we want to be more functional and ready than making it just look pretty. It is going to be in the millions of dollars range. I mean, I can say that for sure. To give you a comparable estimate, I believe the YWCA's domestic violence shelter that they're currently raising funds for is around $6 million. And now they are looking for private funds as well as public commitment on that as well. And we will be doing the same down the road. But our goal was to have proof of concept to iron out any kind of operational issues so that 3-5 years from now we'll be running smoothly, and then we can start focusing on getting our permanent facility.
So the monies that you mentioned, the 100,000 first year and then 75 for the next 2 to 5, that is operational money.
Yeah, some of that would probably help assist in construction related offenses, but more importantly, it would go towards operations.
So, Mr. Eigel, at this point, is there any way we can look at this and look at all the different agencies and what their contribution might be to this type of a setup? Like, I'm thinking of Job and Family Services, I'm thinking of Child Focus, all those different agencies who actually would be on site in working with these children and families.
I'll be happy to.
Thank you very much. I think that's a good start for the county. We'll be able to look at everything that's come in, any grants or anything that we would be able to obtain to assist in it. My hat's off to you and everyone who has worked so hard on this, because just in my background of dealing with these children, I know how frightening it is to go down to Children's Hospital and you're being transported by people you don't know. Then you get there, it's cold, it's everything. And at least I got to go through your semi-construction up at Mercy Hospital. That was confusing. I mean, I'm the world's worst when it comes to construction. You kept saying, well, here it is. And I'm like, what is? All I saw was metal and metal.
I will say, and I tend to just talk too much, so I did want to introduce some great people who've been so supportive as well. So this is part of the Little Fork team we have. And I encourage you to take a look at our board. I mean, from 2017, when I was trying to kind of do this alone as a trailblazer, I now have people who really know a lot more than I did.
Introduction.
Yes. So this is Ross Bushman.
Hi, Ross
Hi,
Bushman.
Bushman.
Came from the private sector, and I've been started out with the strategic planning, and I've been helping Scott O'Reilly here for about a year now.
Thank you.
I think you know Mr. Likens here. But
Well, hi, Mr.
Jeff.
Likens. Thank you both for being involved.
and then one of my good friends, Mike Green.
Mike Green. I came from the private sector.
Hi, Mike.
And for the last couple of years, donating my time to the Clermont County Sheriff's Office and trying to keep Scott on the straight and narrow.
Okay.
I will say, I mean, Mike, I'd like to say I had some influence on this, but he does sex cases now. I mean, he's retired and donates all his time to Clermont County to investigate child sex cases. And so he knows this world backwards and forwards now.
Scott, I have to say I admire you for the work, everybody that's involved in it. Our children are our greatest assets, and if we can do anything to make their lives, they're going to go through all of that trauma. They don't need more trauma on top of it to try and help them. So I appreciate all that you're doing.
I mean, we.
Absolutely.
Coming from the private sector and being involved in the law enforcement side, I think for me, that my passion comes from, none of us know how much runway we have left. And so to have the most impact on the most people, honestly, if we handle and deal with and help one child at a time, we're not going to get there. It has to be a generation of it. And for Little Fork, for me, it's changing generations to come. Now, we won't be able to validate that because it's off in the future. But so often in the cases I investigate, you have a victim, the mother was a victim, the grandmother was a victim, your cousins are victims. And unless we can change this on a generational basis, we're never gonna make it. So that's why Little Fork had such an appeal to me when Scott explained what he wants to do, because I think this can have a generational impact.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank
for your
you,
time.
Scott.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you for bringing
Thank
it
you for
back to our
coming.
attention.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, we've come to the portion of our program, public participation. Do we have anyone that would like to speak today?
Good morning.
Has everyone signed in back here?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Your name and address, please?
My name is Susan Finnegan, and I live at 27 Laurelwood in Milford, 45150.
Okay, let me read a little statement here, okay? During this time, the board does not answer questions nor engage in a debate. No member of the public may comment about a matter that is not within the purview of the county commissioner's responsibilities. The commissioners are not expected to comment on matters brought to the board during this time. Each speaker shall only speak once and shall be recognized by the board president before speaking. And in accordance with the board's rules of procedure, your comments are limited to 5 minutes.
Certainly.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate your time. As you know, I'm Susan Finnegan. What we are concerned about this morning is the impact that COVID-19 has made on our personal lives, our medical lives, and everything along those lines. And you, as the interface for communication between government and the public, that's why we are here to speak. And during the past 2 years, Americans of every sort have dealt with unprecedented challenges. This ongoing tsunami of oppression began in January of 2020 with the introduction of a manufactured virus, usually known as COVID-19, SARS-CoV-2, and a myriad of other descriptives. Our media happily terrorized us as to the virus virulence. It railroaded people into paranoia. And while our government beat us into submission with unlawful and unconstitutional lockdowns and mask mandates, and society and norms were dramatically impacted. It devastated financially families, businesses, and especially small businesses throughout our country and throughout Ohio. Schools closed and instead substituted remote learning, whose abject removal of human-to-human interface interactions impacted our children negatively, mental health-wise, personality-wise, as well as, of course, intellectuality. And paralleling and often increasing the losses and destructive efforts have been the so-called COVID vaccines manufactured by Pfizer, the most successfully sued pharmaceutical company in the past 20 years to the tune of $3 billion for medical fraud and a host of other things. Pfizer linked up with BioNTech. There's AstraZeneca, there's Moderna, and then there's the Johnson & Johnson vaccines. And though initially, of course, we all welcomed these vaccines, we thought, oh, great, well, we won't have to worry. But now we know that the COVID-19 vaccines are proving globally each and every day to be a dangerous genetic experiment upon people as a whole throughout the world. Deaths, blood clots, heart ailments, neurological deficits, neurological conditions, and gradual loss of immune function have been the result for many. Indeed, reported to the VAERS system, the Vaccine Adverse Events Reporting System for the whole US, nationally, we're over 20,000 dead Americans from the vaccine, as well as 125 children under 11. And that's why we are here today. We, as members of the Clermont County chapter, it's called the Ohio Battleground Alliance, you may have heard of us before, are seeking to communicate to you our most profound and ongoing concerns about the unlawful incursions into our everyday lives and personal medical decisions wrought by the COVID pandemic. We also ask, most humbly, that if there are any judiciary efforts nationally or locally to prosecute those responsible, namely Anthony Fauci, director of the National Institute for Allergies and Infectious Diseases, Bill Gates of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and a host of other vaccine funding organizations, and Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, who's head of the WHO, World Health Administration, for crimes against humanity. They need to be held responsible, because without accountability, we have no laws. Without laws, we don't have a society. Without a society, we do not have America. And where America goes, the rest of the planet will follow. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is this okay?
Beverly Welburn, 1729 East Hunley Road, Goshen. Greetings, Clermont County Commissioners. We, the people who live on the land of Clermont County, wish to present to you some further information which pertains to local health management concerns. We've already sent you 5 documents electronically, but in addition, I have another website to refer you to, an article indicating that the risk of stroke after the COVID-19 vaccine increases by 11,000%. 11,000%. And I also have 3 excerpts from the Pfizer website, which you could visit on your own. I named the article. One names exposure to another person from the person who was being studied, who received the vaccine, as possibly having adverse events. Some of the people who might have adverse events, according to Pfizer, include a woman who would be breastfeeding and then would be exposed to the person who was being studied. In other words, she's not vaccinated, the breastfeeding mother, but she gets contact with someone who was. That could create environmental exposure, according to them. And that exposure can be by inhalation or skin contact. That is, someone touches the nursing mother. And this could create an adverse event for the mother or the child. Another adverse event that they name is when a male family member or a healthcare provider has been exposed to the study intervention, which is the vaccinated person, and then has contact with a female at or around the time of conception. This is a massive amount of exposure then that we're seeing in the environment. It's massive. Find me somebody who hasn't been exposed. Our experience with watching people who have been vaccinated is that they often don't actually start to develop the health issues that are associated with the vaccine until maybe 6 to 12 months after. So they often don't know that it was the vaccine. And yet, there's a statistical pattern related to it. In our attempts to protect ourselves and our loved ones, we have researched extensively on the topics of the effects of spike proteins in the body, which are pathogenic, and the history of major drug companies such as Pfizer's laundry list of fraudulent activities, which Susan just mentioned. Our observations among the local people who have received these injections is indeed, it may take months, a long grace period, and yet they can still become symptomatic, and this can still be medically associated with the vaccine. Furthermore, there is a large range of possible symptoms associated with the COVID shots, and we're experiencing the nightmarish phenomenon of shedding. Many of us have already become ill merely from being in the presence in the same room as a vaccinated person. If one becomes aware of this possibility, one may begin to see this happening in many arenas. We wonder how many people would line up to receive these injections if they first had to sign a waiver stating that they know that the level of toxin can peak in their bodies 6 months to a year hence, and that their skin can become toxic to others. Yet only in such a preposterous scenario could it be truly claimed that there was informed consent for this intervention. We note that the lengthy list of reactions may be due to large variation in the contents of the injections. This aligns with the concept that the entire COVID vaccination program is a vast medical experiment, using as many people as could possibly be persuaded or manipulated to participate as the subjects. Our current emotional reality and individual and joint senses of ethics prompt us to discuss this situation with you, our local officials. Article 1, Section 1 of the Ohio Constitution affirms the right of the person to seek and obtain happiness and safety. Article 1, Section 7 permits no interference with rights of conscience. The COVID scam, and that is what we are calling it, has fooled a large section of the population, substantially disrupting personal safety and blatantly violating our rights of conscience. Ongoing popular and media-driven assumptions that these dangerous injections are helpful to health are still spreading throughout our county. Vaccine injuries are observable and numerous. More and more new studies.
5 minutes are up.
I'll just give you the rest of this. Can she read the rest of this, or she already went?
Already went.
I'll just give you the rest. It's 2 more pages.
Okay, thank you.
Should I give it to her?
Yes,
Thank you.
please.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mhm.
Anyone else would like to speak? Okay. Moving on then to item E, consent agenda. Commissioner, you've had this in time to review. Are there any questions, or can I have a motion to approve?
Make the motion to approve.
I'll second. Roll call, Holly?
Commissioner Corcoran,
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor,
Yes. Thank you. Moving on to item F, non-consent agenda. Jessica? You're going to go first? You're number 8.
No, number 7.
Number 7. I got it written wrong. I'm sorry.
Okay,
Did I confuse you? I confused myself.
that's okay.
Do you know who you are this morning?
Well, I thought I did, but
He thought he was Jim, but now he's Jessica.
wow.
Better looking, I'm
I
sorry.
could say I don't know what to say about all that. So anyway, I'm Jim Maloney, the administrator for the Clermont County Sheriff's Office. And at the recommendation of Robert S. Leahy, County Sheriff, with the concurrence of Thomas J. Eigel, County Administrator, to authorize Bonnie J. Batchelor, President of the Board of County Commissioners, to execute the sub-grant award agreement for sub-grant number 2021 DL-LEF 5814 by and between the County of Clermont County, Ohio, and the Ohio Department of Public Safety, Office of Criminal Justice Services, for funding through the Ohio Drug Law Enforcement Fund, DLEF, for the project entitled Clermont County Drug Unit in the amount of $115,739.43, with a required match in the amount of $38,579.81 to be provided from the 2022-2023 annual appropriations for the county sheriff, and or be provided by the county sheriff from the Narcotics Law Enforcement Trust Fund 2503 for a total project of $154,319.24 for the period of 7/1/22 through 6/30/23. For and on behalf of the county sheriff of the County of Clermont, Ohio, as the designated agency for the administration and implementation thereof, pursuant to and in compliance with the terms and conditions set forth therein and in concert with the grant application, as well as the pre-award conditions filed electronically by the county sheriff on or about 1/6/22 and 5/25/22 respectively. This is, we refer to this as our JAG, or this is the LEF. This is the fine money. This is one of two major grants that we have to help fund our drug task force.
Board, you've heard the reading of item number 7 by Jim Maloney. Do I have a motion to approve?
I will approve.
I'll second. Roll call, Holly.
Commissioner Corcoran.
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you. Now, Jessica.
Morning.
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 Item number 8 is the recommendation of John Cascaden, Director, Department of Public Safety Services, with the concurrence of Greg Bickford, Assistant County Administrator, to authorize Bonnie Batchelor, President of the Board of County Commissioners, to execute the proposal for service between the Board of Commissioners of Clermont County, Ohio, and Vertiv Corporation out of Columbus, Ohio, for the service and maintenance of the Liebert uninterruptible power supply equipment located at the Communications Center, effective July 26, 2022 through July 25th of 2023, at a rate not to exceed $11,128.14, pursuant to and in compliance with the terms and conditions set forth herein, and contingent upon the release of the required purchase order in concert with the requisition number 3402-00, dated May 25th of 2022.
Thank you. Commissioner, you've heard the reading. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Any discussion?
None.
Roll call, Holly.
Did you second that?
I
Nan?
did. I will.
Thank you. Commissioner Corcoran.
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. Any additions?
No, ma'am.
Item H is executive session pursuant to section 12122G6 of the Ohio Revised Code to discuss details relative to the security arrangements and emergency response protocols for a public body or public office. Do I have a motion to go into executive session?
Make the motion.
I'll second. Roll call, Holly?
Commissioner Corcoran.
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes. We will return. Thank you. We have returned from executive session. No decisions were made. Moving on to item I, county staff elected official discussion. We have no one. Moving on to item J, member comments. Commissioner Corcoran?
None this morning.
Well, I would just like to read a little statement that we received in regards to the Board of Elections. And this came from Secretary LaRosa's office. And believe in giving recognition where recognition is deserved. So let me read this. And it states, as part of our comprehensive after action review of the May 3rd, 2022 primary election, our election team met to discuss each county's performance. We had nothing but positive feedback to offer during our discussions of Clermont County Board of Elections. We want to commend you on an excellent performance, even under extremely difficult and constantly changing circumstances due to the redistricting. You made us all proud during the May 3rd primary election. Your dedication to election administration continues to set Ohio apart as the gold standard. Thank you so much for your hard work and service to the voters of Clermont County. Our office looks forward to working with you for another secure and accurate election cycle. I think that's fantastic for the Board of Elections in Clermont County.
Our hats off to them. They did a great job and they should receive that. Very nice. Thank you.
Thank you. That's all I have. Nothing else?
Nothing.
I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second, Holly.
Commissioner Corcoran.
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes. Thank you. See you Wednesday.